Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was a massive disappointment for Disney, so much so that they decided to end it prematurely and start Phase 5, and that certainly didn't start off great with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania either, a massive loss for Disney. But one of the things that people have been noticing, despite some of these movies hitting $700 or $800 million at the box office, was the massive overloaded budgets that were behind these things. $250 million for Wakanda Forever and Thor: Love and Thunder, and that's just what they disclosed, not even counting the $150 million marketing budgets. But when it came to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it only had a $200 million budget. And people thought, you know what, that's strange, but I guess that's all we have to go of. Well, now we're learning more. What everyone was pointing to, the big success from Phase 4 of the MCU, other than No Way Home, which was a Sony product, not a Disney product, was Multiverse of Madness because it almost made $1 billion, $950 million worldwide. And based on what they had disclosed for the marketing budgets and the production budgets, it looked like that actually made a decent profit. Well, now, all of the sudden, we're learning differently. We're learning that Multiverse of Madness actually went way over budget that wasn't previously disclosed by Disney. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness cost almost $300 million before marketing. That certainly changes things, doesn't it? Because if this was $300 million, add $150 million in marketing on top of that, that's a movie that may have barely broken even. Certainly wasn't the massive success that people wanted to think it was before we found all of this out. Isn't this interesting? It's no secret that blockbuster comic book movies are not cheap to make, but things have really started to escalate in that department, particularly in the MCU. The only movies post-Avengers Endgame to have a production budget less than $200 million was Shang-Chi, for example. But it turns out that one of Marvel Studios' biggest hits in recent memory was actually far more expensive than anyone imagined. Now, we have known for a while that Marvel does not count a lot of the reshoots and a lot of the extra stuff in their reported production budgets. But until someone actually comes and goes through all the data and finds it, we can't really go on anything other than what they give us. But we know from people who have worked at Marvel, people who have worked very closely with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that those things are not being reported right now to make it look better for Disney. And so now somebody actually uncovered some stuff, and this is not coming from, Slash Film or whatever. This is coming from Forbes. That's where this report is coming from. That not only did they go over that $200 million budget, but they went way over. Nearly $150 million over that budget, but they did get a big, about $50 million credit from the UK. During the year 2022, $135 million was spent on making the movie, with the majority going on post-production. When this is combined with the $213 million that had already been incurred during pre-production and filming, it gives the total cost $349 million. It was reimbursed a total of $54 million, bringing the net picture cost to $294.5 million. Again, that's a tax incentive. If you film enough of the movie in the UK, you do get a big tax break, so that's why that happened that way. Still, we're looking at a movie that cost $300 million. Look at the results. Right? So this is why all of this matters. This is why the budgets matter. This is why just because Thor: Love and Thunder made, $700 million plus at the box office, that doesn't make it a big success, because it likely didn't even break even because of how big its budget was. But this movie, now with a $300 million production budget and $150 million in marketing, that's $450 million invested. It made $952 million worldwide. If you just cut that in half, you're looking at, like a $25 million profit for Disney. But if you actually look at this, because again, that half number is just really rough. If you look at domestic, you take 55% of that domestic number at 411, and you take around 40% of that international number. These are the numbers we're talking about that the studio gets back from the theaters, domestically and internationally. Around 55% domestically, 40% internationally. You're looking at something that may have just broken even. It may not have made any money. So with all the people out there that are celebrating and looking at these things and taking, it's all right, we can have a disappointment with Thor: Love and Thunder. We can have a disappointment with Quantumania. Look at what Multiverse of Madness did. No, you can't. Because now we're finding out exactly how much money they spent to make this motherfucker. And as it turns out, it's not some massive hit after all. In fact, it barely made any money. It may have just broken even. We have been warning them about this. We've been talking about these massive budgets, how almost nothing can possibly succeed if you give it a budget like that, especially when the audience has continued to walk away. Nearly a 40-50% drop in some cases audience-wise when you look at things like Thor: Love and Thunder or Wakanda Forever. It is not sustainable for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now we've got the data to back it up. That even something like this, that they hid all of these costs to make it look like this movie was a massive success, even though it really wasn't. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.